You might have heard of hot buttered rum, but this is hot buttered bourbon. Let me show you how to make it. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, I'm the whiskey nerd, and like I said, this week I'm making a hot buttered bourbon. This is a cocktail which is full of flavor. It's full of sweetness and full of spice. It's also nice and warm, so it is perfect for perking you up on these colder days. The kind of base formula of this should be familiar to you because it's quite similar to like a hot buttered rum, but we're using Wild Turkey 81 for our spirit in this cocktail because that's going to give us a nice bit of kind of spiciness. It's going to give us a nice bit of bourbon-y kind of oaky flavor into the cocktail without adding too much heat to take away from those nice refreshing flavors. Now, when you hear people talk about making hot buttered rums, they will often say to make like a butter batter where they take some nice butter, they take some brown sugar, and they take some spices and they mix those all together into like a kind of a batter where they can use that, just put it into the cocktail, add a bit of rum, add a bit of hot water, and there you go. Now, you can do that if you want, but what I prefer doing, especially if I'm only making one or two of these cocktails, is just to have the ingredients separately. So I've got some nice brown sugar syrup here. It's about 1.5 to 1, so it's about 150 grams of brown sugar to 100 grams of water. Mix that together. When the sugar's dissolved, you got a nice brown sugar syrup. I've also got some good quality creamery butter to add a nice bit of flavor, a nice bit of richness to the cocktail, and just a spice mix. This is one of these store-bought spice mixes. It's got cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, ginger, and a little bit of allspice to really add a nice bit of a spicy profile to the cocktail. And the last ingredient you're going to need for the cocktail is some really hot water, and thanks to movie magic, I've got some water that's fresh off the boil right here. So let's not waste any more time and let's build our cocktail. It's one of those ones you build in the glass, so it's quite simple and quite easy to make. So we're going to start off with our butter. We don't have to add a huge amount of butter. The more you add, the creamier the flavor will be, the richer the flavor will be, but you can go a little too hard. So I always like starting off with a smaller amount of butter, and if you feel you need more butter later on, you can always add it, and you'll always dial in your kind of recipe as you like it. You'll know how much butter you like it, but I just like adding about half a teaspoon of some nice rich butter to give me a good flavor. Then I'm going to add in just a pinch of our spice mix just to give a nice bit of flavor to the cocktail with, again, not overpowering it. And then we're going to go in with our ingredients, with our sugar syrup and with our bourbon. So we're going to go in with 45 ml, that's 1.5 ounces of our Wild Turkey 81 bourbon. Like I said, this has a nice bit of flavor, has a good bourbon kind of flavor to it without having too much of an alcohol hit, so it won't take away from that spiciness, from that creaminess in the cocktail. It will just let us enjoy the drink. Then I'm going to go in with about 10 ml of our brown sugar syrup. We don't want to go in with too much because the bourbon is sweet, the butter adds a bit of sweetness. We don't want to be too sweet with our cocktail, so just about 10 ml of brown sugar syrup into there, and then we're just going to add some hot water and stir it down, and that's a very simple hot buttered bourbon ready for you. Already I can see that the butter is starting to melt, so we're just going to give it a quick little stir for about maybe 10-20 seconds until that butter is fully dissolved, and then it'll be ready to drink. Okay, I think that is nicely dissolved now. We've got a little bit of a layer of the fat of the butter up top there. You might be able to see it, but it's very nice, very rich. I can already smell there's a huge amount of flavor coming out of the glass, so let's get in for it. Cheers. That is just so nice. It's such an interesting flavor. It's so rich. That butter adds a really nice kind of creaminess to it. The kind of spiciness from that, cinnamon, the clove, the ginger adds a really nice richness to it. The Wild Turkey already had some nice kind of baking spices, cinnamon and clove in there. So when you add the extra ones, it just ramps it up. It really makes it feel really tasty. I mean, in my review of the Wild Turkey, which you can check out, there'll be a link up there, I said that I was getting some kind of like applesauce, some rich kind of spicy applesauce notes on the nose, and that is translating through here. I'm getting kind of like a really rich apple crumble, like with that butteriness, with that kind of bit of brown sugar extra, with the Wild Turkey flavor and with that extra spiciness. It comes through really, really well. It's just got a really interesting profile. I mean, that creaminess from the butter does tie it together. I mean, it's super simple. It's just brown sugar, spices, butter, and bourbon, but when you add them together in the right ratio, you get a really flavorful cocktail, and it's definitely one you should try out, especially before we get into the warmer months when it might not be as refreshing. But it's still cold right now, so I'm going to keep on enjoying this. I put out cocktail recipes on Fridays, whiskey reviews on Wednesdays, and sometimes fun videos on Mondays. So if you want to see more, make sure you scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Slán.